It's the summer of 1993. Day of the Tentacle has just been released, and LucasArts is looking for fresh, new ideas for games to revitalize the point-and-click genre. While brainstorming concepts for LucasArts, Tim Schafer had a variety of ideas, one of which was a biker-themed game that would go on to become Full Throttle. One of the ideas Tim had for Full Throttle was for the main protagonist, Ben, to undergo a psychedelic-induced dream sequence at some point during the game. LucasArts scrapped this idea because doing psychedelics didn't really meet their family-friendly image at the time. Lucky for us, Tim held on to this idea, and it's what would eventually grow and blossom into the cult classic Psychonauts. Tim would eventually leave LucasArts with the desire to start his own game company, to create a place where he could maintain control over what he was making. That place would become Double Fine Games. After putting together a small team composed mostly of junior developers and other ex-LucasArts employees, development finally began on the first Double Fine game, Psychonauts. The development of this game was a troubled one, though, one with many problems that the team had to wrestle with. From the difficulties that come with making high-concept level designs into reality, to securing funding. Originally, the game was to be released for Microsoft, exclusively for Xbox. Ed Fries, who led the team that created the first Xbox, was looking for games for the new console, and Psychonauts was going to be one of them. But in 2004, during mid-development of Psychonauts, Fries left Microsoft, and not long after, funding was cut for the game.
Ed Fries just quit, but everything's gonna stay the same, nothing's gonna change, but he just quit. I was like, I wonder if that's gonna change anything.
After we'd heard everything's fine, I think it was the next day that everything wasn't fine, and we found out that we were canceled.
The future seemed bleak, so in order to keep the project afloat, Tim used his own money, taking out a huge personal loan to continue funding the project. Luckily, this gamble ended up paying off, and this money bought Double Fine just enough time to secure additional funding to finish the development of Psychonauts. Psychonauts really has a fascinating development history, and I highly recommend checking out the Double Fine Psych Odyssey videos, which are the clips that you just saw, if you're still at all interested in learning more about what happened behind the scenes and the development process that happens at Double Fine. The link's going to be in the description, so check it out. So without further ado, let's get into actually talking about the game. Psychonauts opens with a character named Coach Oleander giving a speech that seems like it should be for war-hardened psychic soldiers, only for the camera to pan and show that he's actually giving the speech to a bunch of children with psychic abilities gathered around a campfire. At that moment, a mysterious being falls out of the trees, and as Coach Oleander tries and fails to read the child's mind, we meet our protagonist, Raz. Raz explains that he's run away from his family at the circus to come to this psychic summer camp and become a psychonaut. But there's only one problem. Agent Sasha 9 and Vodello both agree that his parents need to be contacted and he needs to be taken home, as this is a top-secret training facility, meaning Raz only has a few days to become a psychonaut.
They may come for me, Dogen, but they'll be looking for Raz, the boy. What they're going to find, what they don't expect, is Raz, the psychonaut.
And then you'll make their heads explode?
No. Do you do that?
No. Well, once kinda. But now I wear this special hat.
The next day is our first day at camp. We show up for something called basic braining, where we're introduced to the main concept of Psychonauts, jumping into other people's minds and exploring their heads. Isn't that cool? As we get pulled into Coach Oleander's brain, we see that it is just a complete war-torn hellscape and that the other campers are also trying to navigate through it. And we also get to see what happens to the ones who, fail to navigate through it. We make our way out through the coach's brain, utilizing Raz's background as an acrobat to jump and dodge our way through the war-torn obstacle course laid out before us. Raz is so skilled he ends up beating all the other kids and Coach Oleander to the finish line, as we wander into a white hallway with a window at the end of it. And just as we're about to look through the window, Coach appears and stops us. Wonder what he's hiding behind that window.
Hold it right there, son. Now just what in the Sam Hill do you think you're doing in there?
I was just looking for a way out.
Oh, sorry about that. Didn't think you'd get to the end so fast. Dang, I didn't think you'd get to the end at all.
In any case, once back in the real world, Sasha 9 is very impressed with our abilities and invites us down for some advanced training in his secret lab. After locating it, Agent 9 uses a device called a brain tumbler to let Raz explore his own mind. But once we get inside, it doesn't really seem like what Raz was expecting it to look like. It's filled with flowers made of meat for some reason. He also sees a tower, a tall tower made out of thorns with an evil dentist at the top about to remove one of the brains of the other campers, only to discover that back in reality, that camper is now missing his brain. Seems like this camp might not be as safe as what it's made out to be. Alright, that's all that I'm going to reveal about the story, because I really think you should try to experience this game firsthand if you can. But man, what a great way to introduce you to the world of Psychonauts. From the strange but alluring story and art design to the interesting and conceptual level design of just the first few levels. You really get a good sense of what this game is going to be about and what it's going to be like going forward. In my opinion, though, the main feature of this game is probably the writing and characters, because the characters are the levels, and vice versa. They really get a chance to shine. They all have great voice acting, great writing, and for example, even the most minor characters like the campers, they could have just been very generic characters, but each one has unique quirks, features, and a ton of different dialogue options that make them fun to talk to and see what they're going to say next.
You know that cabin is empty, right?
Duh. I'm practicing for tonight, when it's gonna be full of ladies.
That kind of thing takes practice.
Excuse me, but my parents let me watch R-rated movies, so I think I know a little bit more about this than you do, okay?
Prior to Psychonauts, Tim Schafer had only worked on creating point-and-click adventure games, where the writing and storytelling are at front and center. This absolutely shines through in the game, with all the witty jokes tucked into the well-written dialogue. You can really feel all of Tim's adventure game storytelling experience shine through here. I think what really makes the writing special is that you get to talk to a lot of characters before jumping into their minds, which gives you a chance to get to know them a little. It gets you thinking about what their mind might look like, and then after jumping into the minds, you can further interact with pieces of their consciousness that may be finding a core memory tucked away or speaking with a character that exists within their mind, giving you even more insight to the character. The writing just effortlessly clicks into place with the high concept level design, with both elements making each other stronger than what it would be. With this synergy, it enables each level to be unique in both aesthetics and design. From the calm and collected Sasha, whose mindscape is represented as a well-organized cube, to the mind of the angry, heartbroken Edgar, whose mindscape is made up of warped, colorful, black-lit themed streets that are just under constant attack by an enormous bull. Sasha's mind perfectly represents how much control he has over his mind, whereas Edgar's mind immediately explains why he's so haunted by his paintings of bulls and matadors and why he's so unstable. I wish I could break down every level, but this video would just end up being way too long. But I do still want to talk about a few of my favorites though, at the very least. The first mind that really wowed me was entering the mind of the mutated lake monster lungfish, Linda. Linda was a normal fish that got experimented on by one of the story's main antagonists. This had a severe effect on her mind, which is represented by a city of smaller lungfish that you explore in typical kaiju fashion, stomping around, terrorizing the citizens, all while the news is reporting on your invasion. Eventually, we find out that the people of this city worship another kaiju who showed up one day and began reigning over the city. By helping the resistance, you can help overthrow the external presence, culminating in a Godzilla-esque boss fight that's also pretty awesome. Once you save her, she's eternally grateful and opens up another area of the game to you, the Psych Ward. Here's where you can find two other cool characters that have unique level design, Boyd and Fred.
Thanks, hulking lungfish. You really aren't as hideous as people say.
You may call me now by my true name, Rasputin. The name given to me by my people.
And what name is that, noble lake creature?
Linda.
What a magical lady.
Boyd's level is one of the most famous of the whole game. He's someone who became completely obsessed with conspiracy theories, and his mind is a winding spiderweb of 1970s neighborhoods with G-men everywhere. Everyone seems to be looking for someone called the Milkman. Wonder who that could be. His mind looks exactly how you would expect someone who feels that they are under constant surveillance to look. This is another example of what I was saying before. The state of his mind is a perfect representation of his character in the real world. This level, like Sasha's level, has a cool gravity mechanic as well. And this game came out way before Super Mario Galaxy, so credit where credit's due. The gameplay of this level is a lot more puzzly than platformy, requiring you to collect disguises to make your way through the G-men pretending to be various people.
I am the milkman. My milk is delicious.
Boyd? Are you okay?
Time for the final delivery to this address.
Hey, is that milk regular kind?
After helping him
Or the
sort some things
exploding
out, though,
dream kind?
you can eventually get to Fred.
Excuse me, sir?
My name is Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh, excuse me. Mr. Bonaparte.
Shh, I only think I'm Napoleon Bonaparte. Do not listen to the weakling. He denies his lineage because he fears it.
I like your jacket. Very strappy.
You want it? You can have it. And just help me undo these buckles in the back and all. What are you doing? The uniform of this army is sacred. We shall wear it proudly until the battle is over. Help me.
Fred Bonaparte is the descendant of Napoleon. Yes, that Napoleon. And his main problem is that his mind is under constant assault by his ancestor. Napoleon's trying to take over his brain because Fred has no desire to win anything, which is such a disgrace to the bloodline of a Bonaparte that he can't even win a simple board game against a mental patient. So when entering his mind, you're greeted to a room with a clock ticking away and Napoleon and Fred playing a board game against each other in a battle of wits for control of Fred's mind. This is a really cool level and has a really interesting scale to it. You're able to go from the room that Napoleon and Fred are playing in, shrinking down onto the board that they're playing on, all the way down to talking to the pieces that they're using. It requires you to go into the board game and give Fred's soldiers a little nudge to help the guy kick Napoleon out of his head for good.
I'm recruiting for Fred Bonaparte's army, and Fred really cares.
What's the pay?
Hey, check out this coin I found.
Money! Oh, man! Well, I'm off to die in battle, dear, for an incompetent leader who'll never know my name. I hope you remarry well.
More of that negative talk.
Hope she doesn't spend it all on scrapbook-making supplies. She's gone nuts about that stuff. Part of the reason I'm so ready to die. Anyway, let's go. War ahoy! And all that stuff.
Finally, I want to talk about the meat circus. It's the last level in the game, but don't worry, I'm not going to give any spoilers about whose mind it is or anything like that. You'll still have to play to find that out if you want to know. This game has some intense ass platforming though, and that's really what I wanted to talk about. They were really trying to end the game with a bang on this one. There's a whole section where you have to platform up this hugely tall circus tent off all these gross meat-shaped objects, and all the while water's just filling up the circus tent. And this is especially bad for Raz because his family got cursed to drown, so if he falls in the water, it's definitely lights out for him. Another cool detail I wanted to mention about this level is that throughout the duration of the level, you see this creepy white face coming out at you, almost like it's trying to push through something. But at the end of the game, you actually get to find out what that is, and it's a pretty cool reveal. I'm not going to spoil it, like I said, so please just go play the game and find out for yourself. But now it's time to discuss the main gimmick of the game, the psychic abilities you unlock along the journey, from pyrokinesis or invisibility for puzzle solving to telekinesis and levitation for platforming and fighting. The game really keeps you on your toes, using a lot of the psychic powers throughout your journey, giving you multiple ways to utilize each one. None of the powers ever started to feel stale or like wasted space in my inventory, which is impressive because for as many as there are, they're all pretty niche, with the exception of levitation, which I used pretty much non-stop as soon as I unlocked it. Oh yeah, also it's worth mentioning that the confusion bomb ability, the animation for that, whoever animated that, you did a great job. That's an awesome animation. You deserve a medal. When talking about gameplay, there's one final piece that still needs talked about, and that's the collectibles. Some of them are cool, others are annoying, but they all serve a purpose, to raise your level, which will help you unlock new powers and upgrades for your existing abilities. To get all the powers required to beat the game in a normal playthrough is pretty effortless. It doesn't take too much time, but if you want to collect everything in the whole game, you might have a little bit of a rougher time. There are figments, which are these doodle-looking things that float around in everyone's mind and are absolutely everywhere. There's emotional baggage, which require you to find a tag to help people unpack their baggage. Core memory vaults, which show you these cool slideshows that give more insight into each character. And there are also these purple mental cobwebs that can be collected and turned into more experience. Psi challenge markers, marker pieces. There's also a scavenger hunt at the campsite and brains to collect in the psych ward too. There are just a ton of collectibles, so if that's your thing, please have at it. I mostly just did collectathoning in the first few levels and in the campgrounds, and I had plenty of Psy levels to unlock all the powers I needed to beat the game. My favorite thing to collect though, and I always sought them out in every mind I was in, were the core memory vaults. I really liked getting more info on the characters. Just like the level design and writing though, I think the gameplay also clicks right into place, forming a recipe for a cult classic game. Well, that's pretty much all I can think to talk about. When Psychonauts released, it was considered a commercial failure. Nobody bought this game for some reason, even though it had glowing reviews. A lot of people, I think, were put off by the art style of the game, which is understandable, I guess, but this is what they were going for. They wanted to hit something that looked a little cartoony and like claymation, and they hit that nail right on the head, I think. There are no other games out there that look quite like Psychonauts does. Besides its unique style, it has a great premise, entertaining story, alongside cool, high-concept level design and an all-star voice acting cast. If you've ever played this game, I don't have to tell you how special it is. You already know. But if you haven't, I hope that this video inspires you to take the time to play through because I love this game. Plus, now's the perfect time to give it a shot because you can jump right into Psychonauts 2 after finishing it. You don't have to wait 10 years to find out what happens after that cliffhanger ending like the rest of us did. Hello everyone, thanks for watching my video. This was only my third video, but I had a lot of fun making it. If you liked it, and you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. See you in the next one.